things going on. But I'll surprise you with this story. It was really unusual. And that was on the Apollo mission. It was the first time we had enough room in a cockpit to have a bowel movement from getting out of the couches. But of course, we didn't want to do that, and we tried to really hold that back. But I think it must have been about the third day that we finally, the first time we had it. If you're interested, my book, The All-American Board, I wrote a memo in orbit afterwards on how to handle all that. But the real problem came, and it was not about a bowel movement. It was about the package that we had, the bag that was there. And if you chose to use that, it'd be 50 minutes to an hour, kind of take you up to the time. And I never forget, by the time we got back, we, for some reason, it was a primary science experiment, and we had to carry those with us from the time we got picked up and come back home. And I think we had 14 bags that we'd used. And if you take a look at 11 days times 3 people, that's 33. There's a possibility for 33 of those. We had the bags were there, but we were carrying them with us. The doctor that was with us after they picked us up and took us back to the carrier. And I remember both those bags were out there going along with us. We got to fly back to down at the Cape at the time. And then we turned that over to the medical group down there. So we turned the bags over. Never thought a thing about it. What I'm telling you now never even entered our heads. The bags came back, and we started debriefing. And while we were doing the 5 days debriefing with the crews, a lady, I can't remember her name, but one of the nurses, she came and she said, "Hey, we've got a problem." And nobody could even think about what the problem could possibly be. And she said, "We have, we had 11 days, and you've registered, I can't remember how many of these bags, and we've got one more than that." We didn't think too much of that. And then finally, we were talking back and forth. We said, "Oh, you remember what it was? Remember when we had that chocolate pie and our food? And remember the bag was ripped?" And yeah, we remembered. All of a sudden, we remembered, because when that happened, we didn't think much about it. And he says, finally, I can't remember, it might have been Walt. He says, "Let's stick it in one of our." So we ended up turning over one more bag than what had actually been used. And so we told her. And about 2 days later, she comes back to visit again. And she says, "I hate to tell you this, but it was the last bag that we had to look at." And I'll never forget how much we laughed.
Just a little comment. I was looking at some NASA reports the other day, and one of the reports I looked at was the listing of all of the flights and the analysis of the fecal bags that came back, right? Okay, Apollo 15 was blank. No analysis, and the reason is that when I did my EVA, I asked Jim to hand the canvas bag out that held all of our fecal material, and I just let it go by. So interestingly, that bag was going the same direction, the same time, same speed we were, so it was outside the whole way back to Earth. And we were safe because we had a heat shield, but that bag didn't, so we couldn't.
Do you all understand how important it is to keep track of bowel movements?
Well, on our flight, I think the funniest thing happened wasn't on board. Though we did have a couple of humorous incidents. Sometime I might tell one of those. But I have a identical twin brother, and he's a doctor. So during our flight, my brother's in the viewing room with my family. They would allow the families to come in to watch. And so during the EVA, one of the EVAs, John and I are on the moon, and there we are up on the big screen bouncing around on the moon, and my brother walks into mission control. And he had been invited there by the flight surgeon. So he walks in, and I am told that it stopped the show. Everybody looked at him, and then looked at the screen. And I think that might have been the beginning of the theory that we really didn't go to the moon. Another story that most of you have heard, but on the second day of our flight on the way to the moon, Mattingly lost his wedding ring. And I won't tell you how that happened, but he lost his wedding ring. And so we went to the moon, and John and I landed on the moon. 3 days later, we come back, and he's still looking for his wedding ring. On the way back, we have the second flight to have an EVA. And so we're on the ninth, I think it's the 9th day of the mission, and Mattingly had been outside retrieving some film, and I was his support lifeline guy. Well, I climbed back inside, or float back inside to the lower equipment bay, and Mattingly's now doing some biological experiment on a 10-foot long pole that's attached to the hatch. And he's got out there floating and back to me, and I get this glint of gold, and I look over, and there's his wedding ring floating out the door. And I grabbed for it, and I missed it. And so it floated out real slow, and it took a minute or so to go that 10 feet, and finally hit him on the back of the head. And a round ring and a round helmet lost in space. But it took a 180-degree bounce and came straight back towards the hatch, floated back in the hatch, and I grabbed that beauty. Oh, damn.